Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I was just recording a video talking about the last couple of times I suffered a burnout in my life. And I decided to make a chart showing how burnt out I was in my lifetime up until this year. So, I begin at the turn of the century because that's about as far back as I can remember. I have a younger brother. He was born at close to the turn of the century, actually. They were exciting times in my life. I ran into trouble my last year in high school. I was going to high school part-time and college part-time, and I think some of my classmates probably held some jealousy, and I ended up taking the GED and skipping 2 years of high school, and had a little bit of an adjustment issue, but I really didn't get very deathly ill. It wasn't until 2003 was the year I stopped drinking soda. 2004 was when I stopped consuming all refined white sugar, and I did well for some time, but at the end of 2005 to beginning of 2006, I developed severe eczema. I think in large part it was a shock to my system the way I was detoxifying, and perhaps there was some mental adjustments as well. But I made a recovery, and then I went on to pursue my PhD in Rochester, New York, and then I lost my virginity, and I met a girl who took advantage of me, and I wasn't eating very well. I would say this was not as low as that, though. This I actually learned a lot from when the girl was taking advantage of me. I went out on a date with myself for the first time in my life. I started feeling so much better. I graduated with my PhD, and I had a lot of adjustments at the first couple of jobs that I took, in large part because I wasn't being accepted for being solo. I was so proud of what I had discovered over here, but you got to remember the atmosphere of social life back in the early 20-teens, right? Nowadays, it's a little bit more popular to be solosexual and to speak proudly about it and to tell your coworkers that you've married yourself. Oh, nowadays that's really popular. But back then, that was a really foreign concept, especially where I was living. I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time. They're not nearly as liberal as somewhere like Seattle or even Phoenix or thank God I wasn't living in Wallace, Idaho at the time. I could only imagine the sentiment of that over there. At my third job, I made a friend who accepted me for being solosexual, in large part because she was probably also solosexual. And but then I ran into some other difficulties at that job as well. And then I took a job at Technical University, Washington Technology University, and I got accepted for being solosexual, at least at first. We had a new president, and that's another story for another time. But also during this time, I met another girl who was also most likely solosexual. I had a lot of adjustments when we first had to stay 6 feet apart from each other, but I quickly bounced even higher because I didn't have anybody to bother me with my difference in lifestyle. We returned to the office. I took a number of toxic jobs, and then I had one good job, but unfortunately it was only a summer camp program. I was teaching SAT, and then I moved to Phoenix, and unfortunately I ran into 2 more toxic jobs. And then I decided to diversify my income, and that's when I really got stressed out. I developed long COVID, mouth sores, burns from making the business, spilling liquid silver on my hand, burning my hand, and just wearing too many hats. And I decided to take it easy, and right now I'm roughly here. So Yeah, that's a chart of how burnt out I have been in recent times. So if I had to circle the most trying times in my life, this was so brief I wouldn't even consider it. It was like literally like within like a week or two, right? This one was a great learning experience, although it's probably only a learning experience because I'm looking back at it, right? On this day, right, I probably would have assumed that I was within months of complete disaster, right? Ditto with any of these points, right? If you teleported me back to that point and erased all this memory, right? Any of those could have been very trying times, right? So it's hard to say what 10 years from now I'm going to look at this point as, right?